Yes, I am just changing.
She didn't go for
She
that?
would not do it. I wanted to be hee-haw and chee-haw. And then we go over to haw-haw.
Corrigan. Anderson. Anderson.
Order, the December 10th, 2021 Texas Board of Dental Examiners will now come to order. The time is 8:43. So for protocol, I'd like to remind the board members, for those of us joining virtually on a secondary device like a computer, tablet, or semi-dot, please mute it until it's your time to speak. Also, please say your name before a verbal vote during the voting process to ensure a proper count. And I'll also announce the names of the board members when announcing them on first and second motions. Ms. Stutter or Ms. Nichols?
So the board will, just as a matter of an announcement, the board will not be discussing the teledentistry rule at this meeting. The rule is currently under review with the Regulatory Compliance Division of the Governor's Office, and it will be posted in the Texas Register until December 13th. We are welcoming comments. Please submit those in writing. The information is available on our website, and we will be discussing this rule again in February of 2022.
And December 13th is the deadline for any public comments. Ms. Pride, would you do us the honor of reading the Texas mission of Texas Board of Dental Examiners? Thank you.
The missions of the Texas State Board of Dental Examiners is to protect the public health and safety and promote high quality and safe dental care by providing enforcement, licensing, peer assistance, and related information services to licensees and their patients.
Thank you, Ms. Pride, and welcome. Roll call, Dr. Kirsch.
Yes, sir. Dr. Brian Henderson,
Present.
Dr. Robert McNeil,
Present.
Dr. George Kirch, I'm present. Miss Lois Palermo,
Present.
Dr. Margot Melcher is getting married. She is not present. Dr. Linda Burke,
Present.
Dr. Yvonne Maldonado, Dr. David Yu,
Present.
Miss Lori Jones,
Present.
Miss Catherine Sisk,
Right there, present.
great, and Miss Marquita Pride.
Present.
Dr. Yu, we have a floor.
Thank you, Dr. Kirsch. Ms. Nichols, would you lead us discussion on approval of minutes from the previous board meeting?
Yes, sir. The minutes from our September meeting have been uploaded for the board members to review. If you don't have any questions or comments about those minutes, we would ask the board to approve them as listed.
As Ms. Nichols mentioned, the proposed minutes are in your board packet, so I'm sure you all have had a chance to look it over. Dr. Henderson, did you have a?
Make a motion to approve minutes.
So Dr. Henderson makes the motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Robert McNeil. I second.
Okay, Dr. Kirsch. Dr. Kirsch. All in favor? Raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. The minutes are approved. Thank you, board.
Thank you, board.
So Ms. Stutter, would you lead us discussion on possible proposed case resolutions for agreed settlement orders?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Yu. So the first proposed case resolutions that you'll see listed, agenda item 4A, are the agreed settlement orders in your materials. And staff requests that the board approve those orders as presented.
So in your packet, you have a list of those agreed settlement orders, and I recommend and remind you that when discussing or pulling any cases, please only be specific to the case number. Any discussion or questions on this? Do I have a motion?
Dr. McNeil.
Thank you. Your motion is?
To accept as written the ASO orders.
Okay, Dr. Burke seconds. Any discussion on these or any cases? See none. Showing hands in favor of the approval of agreed settlement orders as presented. Raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Again, thank you, board. So the next is remedial plans. Ms. Stutter, if you could
Yes, the board staff again requests that the board approve these remedial plans as presented.
Do we have a motion to approve remedial plans?
So moved.
Okay, Dr. Curish makes the motion and Ms. Palermo seconds. Any discussion? Board. See none, show of hands again in favor and say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous again, thank you. And agreed administrative penalties, Ms. Studdard.
The agreed administrative penalties are there in your material. Board staff again requests that the board approve these agreed administrative penalties as presented.
Do we hear a motion to approve agreed settlement orders as presented? Dr.
So moved.
Okay, Dr. McNeil, seconded by Dr. Kirsch. Any discussion? See none, show of hands again and say aye.
Aye.
Once again, unanimous, thank you. Ms. Studdard, we do not have any consent orders.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're moving on. We have pre-ISC recommendations, Ms. Studdard.
Board staff requests that the board approve the pre-IC recommendations of dismissal as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Studdard. Do we have a motion to approve pre-IC? Okay, Dr. Burke and Dr. Henderson seconds. Any discussion? See none. Once again, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. So once again, unanimous for approval of pre-IC recommendations. Post-ISC recommendations, Ms. Studdard.
So staff recommends the board approve all the post-ISC recommendations of dismissal except for one case, and that's case number 2021-00629. If you would like, it's in the memo. It's the memo saved in the document titled Post-ISC Volume 1, page 10 of that PDF. Staff recently received another complaint on this respondent, and the new complaint has similar allegations to this case. So we want to look at all the cases together before proceeding with any action. So staff recommends case 2021-00629 be referred back to legal for further review.
Do we have a motion to accept staff recommendation and polling case 2021-00629? Motion. Dr. Burke motion, seconded by Dr. McNeil. Any discussion? See none, show of hands and say aye for those.
So we're voting to pull this case.
Yes, we're voting to accepting
All the
staff
post-IC.
recommendations.
Except that one.
Except that, I just wanted to make sure I understood what we're voting on. I have a point of information before we get to the vote. Some of these show post-IC, but there are a few pre-IC dismissals in the packet.
Internally, the way staff saves them is in the post-ISC agenda item. We just thought that that makes the most sense, but we can look at that a little bit more if that's confusing.
No, it's not. I just
Okay.
want, it says post-IC, but there are a few that never went to an IC.
Okay, great.
I just want to make sure. Thank you.
So again, the motion is to accept recommendations for dismissal and these post-ISCs, volume 1 and 2 were taken together without the 2021-0629 case, okay? 00629. Again, all in favor, show of hands, please, and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Definitely unanimous, thank you. Okay, so we do not have modification orders.
Right, we do not.
Sure, and no specific orders?
No specific orders.
Ms. Studdard, would you go over the SOA case, the docket 5/21/1871?
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually call on our staff attorney, Carrie Bruner, handled this case. It was a default, and I'll have him present the board's staff's recommendation.
Thanks, Carrie.
Okay. This is for 1871. Dr. Yu? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. This is for consideration of the default in the matter of docket number 504-21-1871, State Board of Dental Examiners versus Rebecca Bravo, Registered Dental Assistant, with the registration number 71064. The hearing in this matter convened on August 24th, 2021. The respondent did not appear, and board staff requested that the administrative law judge issue a default dismissal and remand this matter back to the board. On September 1st, 2021, the administrative law judge issued order number 5, order of the default dismissal. Staff recommends that the board move to adopt this order of the board as attached and revoke Texas Dental Assistant registration number 71064 issued to Rebecca Bravo. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Questions? And again, this, I know it's confusing, but default dismissal basically means that, since the respondent did not show up during SOA, and Mr. Bruner was very patient, I'm sure, and it's returning it, the case is returned back to the board for informal disposition. Okay, so we're not dismissing the case necessarily, just from SOA. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. We have a motion to accept board recommendation. Dr. Henderson motions. Do I have a second? Dr. Kirsch, any discussion on this? Okay, show of hands in favor and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, board. So the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Bruner, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. I'm sure you're going to be on this next one, but so Ms. Stutter, would you go over docket 504-21-2902?
Yes. So Mr. Bruner actually represented us at SOA for this case as well, and so he's going to present staff's recommendation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Consideration of the default in the matter of docket number 504-21-2902, State Board of Dental Examiners versus Josefina Saucedo, Registered Dental Assistant, with the registration number 39813. The hearing in this matter convened on September 1st, 2021. The respondent did not appear, and board staff requested that the administrative law judge issue a default dismissal and remand this matter back to the board. On September 2nd, the administrative law judge issued order number 2, order of the default dismissal. Board staff recommends that the board move to adopt this order of the board as attached and revoke Texas Dental Assistant registration number 39813 issued to Josefina Saucedo. And I'll be glad to answer any other questions.
Thank you, board. Or thank you, Carrie. Any questions from Mr. Bruner? I'm sure you guys all looked at the case, and do I hear a motion to accept the staff's recommendation to adopt the default dismissal? Again, Dr. Kirsch and Dr. Burke. Seconds. Any discussion? Say none. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Once again, unanimous in favor of the accepted board or staff recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruner. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next on the agenda is the presiding officer report, and as part of the presiding officer duties is 100.4 is evaluation of the agencies. But I think we do a really good job just with our board meetings about how each of the directors go over their respective data and kind of helps us orient on a board meeting by board meeting situation. But I personally met with each director just to kind of get an idea of if there's any issues or just kind of being familiar with all they do, and I'm very impressed. Like for instance, in licensing, Ms. Mendez walked me through the systems and processes and a really astounding load that she and her staff have to go through to track and verify licenses and CE, and almost just kind of account for every single check mark on every single situation, because it's very encumbering. And in Dr. Bell, we went over, and her division's excellent, running well. We updated the DRP application also to include areas of expertise like teledentistry, facial pain, and digital dentistry. Investigations, Ms. Heber, welcome to that, I guess promotion. And we walked through the complaint resolution situation and how the division really works together on each case, and how she, I actually asked her to try to compile some retrospective annual statistics on disciplinary actions that will help us for the future. Legal, Ms. Stutter, great work again. In teledentistry alone, we met with our policy director, Sarah Hicks, with Ms. Nichols, the governor's policy advisor, HHSC, Senator Colkhorst, and representatives from Small Direct Club. And we're trying to set up a meeting at this point with Senator Perry and Representative Click. So, we're kind of doing all the legalese to try to get this bill, where everyone's happy, mostly. So finance division, Ms. Capel, obviously I learned about appropriations and timing. And next year's goal for me is to have each division write up an advocacy for pay increases based on our strategic and outcomes assessment plan, for 21 to 25. And, it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like our own sunset. We're going to try to advocate for their pay early next year, hopefully. And next, regional boards. Okay, so ADEX, I believe Dr. McNeil and Ms. Palermo, do you guys want to talk about ADEX?
Well, I know they have a meeting coming up, but from what I understand, Texas is in a district of ADEX, and they do have one hygiene position open there, but Missouri has been a member longer than we have. So it may be the Missouri hygienist that gets put in that. And then that place won't be back up for 3 years. But then another district may, be up for a new person in it. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work.
My understanding from their executive director, Kathy Kelly, I believe is her name, is that we will get that seat. It will go to you. You'll have it for 3 years.
Okay.
Surprise. No.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Because I guess Missouri was not responsive or didn't respond quickly enough. So that's my understanding last I heard from her. After our meeting, I'll reach out to her and just see if there's last I heard from her was mid-October. So I'll reach out and see if there's anything she needs from us.
Okay.
To solidify that.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we just had one video conference call with the ADEX board, and it was just sort of talking about some of the nuances and emerging that's happening right now with CDCA rep. So
A lot of changes.
So now what position are you in? I'm trying to figure out how that board works. So is it a dentist board then that you're on?
I believe it's the actual board of ADEX
Okay.
dentists, and I believe hygiene as well. I think that's what the position.
I thought it was mixed.
Okay.
I thought it was.
Okay, so
and
it's,
hygiene.
okay. Okay. When they,
So,
yeah,
speaking of CDCA Rev, the steering committee, Dr. Burke, Henderson, and Dr. Melcher's not here, but do you guys have any comments about what's going on? Dr. Henderson?
So, yes, thank you, Dr. Yu. Dr. Melcher and I, Linda, were you on that Zoom call?
No.
So we had a Zoom call on the 7th for most of the evening, basically dealing with the steering committee that normally meets at their annual meeting, but because there's big numbers now, they decided they wanted to do it ahead of time instead of in Denver for the annual meeting or January. But primarily what the meeting covered was the discussion of CETA joining Rev CDCA. It'll be voted on at the meeting in January by the House, which is everybody that is a member to attend. And there was a question or two whether other testing organizations were going to also join. They're not actively soliciting, so it'd be someone who wanted to join them, but that is the newest thing that is coming possibly in January.
And the only other two regional orgs that wouldn't be in it would be credits and CERTA. Those are the last two then that wouldn't be in with all of those.
Florida's in the process of wanting, they have been doing their own independent board, but it appears that they're going to be not doing that anymore and being CDCA rep. But I don't really know that detail as much.
That's good.
CETA, Dr. Maldonado.
So I was able to attend the annual meeting in October. And that's when I found out that CETA was going to be joining CDCA Rep in January of 2023. CETA actually started in 2004. And they said that, you know, with this merge, it's going to be the best testing agency. But what they did announce is that there will only be 3 members from each state allowed to be on the board or the testing agency. And those members also need to be examiners. So that's pretty much my report. Everybody was really amazing and friendly, and they really have a great group. So I was very happy to be there.
Florida's not bad to visit either. So, and Ms. Jones, credits?
Yeah, so we met at the end of October, the steering committee met more so to discuss bylaws and moving forward with the charter and different things. And then we're going to be meeting again at the end of January.
Right.
But not much change from my other report.
With CERTA, I've joined the board of directors, and they're renaming the CERTA into a different acronym because, you know, they felt like the Southern Regional Testing Agency is too confined. They're working with Kilgore to develop new teeth that actually are much more lifelike. With even their calculus is radio opaque, you know, so they're going to have. They say that it's going to be, you know, actually as close to human-like as, you know, reasonable without the human. And the grading, as we know, and we found out yesterday too, is all computerized. So they, you know, working with the typodont, they'll scan it and then they're going to have computers grade it. So it's very objective. And we all know that they partnered with Promethean. And previously they were with credits, Promethean was. And they're doing what's called a multimodal exam, which uses Simidon trainer, and also, you know, that trainer hopefully will be able to see him in person. They're going to try to bring it to the board to have us play with it. But it's, you know, it's a kind of a robotic system with haptic feedback and virtual reality simulation. Boards don't accept that right now, but at least it's kind of like a way to hopefully remediate, you know, the licensees, you know, people that already have licenses, and, you know, really just kind of test their hand-eye coordination. But the pitch really for it is to lower overall, you know, overhead for schools, for instance, and better standardization, which is all, you know, always good. And also they're looking at freestanding sites with the Simidon, like, you know, they're thinking about one even in Austin, where people can just come here and do their training or even get a license with it in the future. But I'll be observing one of the CERTA exams in April in Tennessee. So, and that concludes my report.
Also, 2 credits was going to do that, but like you said, I just heard recently that fell through working with Promethean, so they're not doing the simulation and stuff with them.
And the jury's still out whether it's going to be a future, but
Right.
It's great to have technology.
Mhm.
And I'd just like to add that CETA has put in their application to join CDCA Rep.
Oh, good. Thank you.
They haven't been approved yet, but it's in the process.
January. And the AADB meeting, Dr. McNeil was there, Dr. Burke, Ms. Nichols, and myself. Any comments about that meeting? Anything you thought was important to the board?
I think it was nice that there was a certain amount of dialogue on some of the things that are taking place, certainly the merger with CDCA Rev, and them being mindful of when it's appropriate to sort of integrate CETA into the process. And I think they wanted to get one thing settled first before the other. The comment was interesting to me too, that, as we moved away from live patients, they had mentioned statistically, they were happy and happier with the reliability that they were seeing with the simulated exam. There was also a discussion about dental compacts, and that's sort of something that's trying to be sorted out to try to develop a system similar to nursing and medicine, where people could apply through a compact and get licenses in different states. And it's just sort of trying to get off the ground, and that'll be something a few years down the road, we'll probably see some evidence of that. So it was a good meeting.
And, we met with the PO of the medical board and the ED yesterday, and they're in medicine, the Texas Medical Board is looking into joining a compact also. So that's kind of the trend, it seems like, where, licensees can cross state lines as long as they, are a part of the compact. They still have to apply for the license in each state through the compact, like third party or something.
Yeah, what Brent was saying yesterday, the executive director for the medical board was explaining to us yesterday, is that med board's about to, it sounds like they're just on the cusp of joining the compact, and that the licensee would still be on the hook for all the requirements from each state. So if you're licensed in 40 states and there's 40 different CE specific requirements, you have to do all of them. And you also have to pay the fee. So, but for people who are traveling, especially in nursing and medical doctors, I think it's really helpful. And I do think would be a benefit to our licensees as well. And I'm hopeful that was on the horizon for us.
Yeah, and he specifically said that it's beneficial for telemedicine doctors too.
Yeah.
And Dr. Henderson, any comments about AADB?
Oh, it was a good meeting. I think y'all hit a good point.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that AADB is now in the CE business, because the way they do it is that they, individual courses being accredited are by hours, and so they purchase, let's say program or the course director will purchase the number of CE certificates they need based on hours. So they pay like $14 an hour per CE or something like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Have we seen anybody that's using that service in Texas?
Not to my knowledge. Maybe Chris might know, but
And they're also in the business AADB of remediation, with the Remediate Plus, with Semidon, systems. But I also thought it was interesting that they, like other states like Oregon, Proposition 110 or something like that, they were talking about, like decriminalization of certain drugs. And they talked about some like rebuttable presumption with that. So the board, it's up to the board to disprove, the evidence of unsafe practice. So it's the onus of the board to disprove that they can't practice. So it's totally, different way to look at drug possession, in other words. And also Oregon has dental therapists, as we know, the bill, where those assistants can do a lot, like direct pulp caps, simple restorations, even removal of primary teeth, and even dispensing medications that are non-narcotic. So, that's kind of in the Oregon realm, and I don't know if it's going to affect Texas at all. And they also talked about immigration, and we cleared it. that, and Ms. Nichols and Ms. Stutter cleared that by researching that Texas, with Texas policies, that other agencies are not required to, and same with us, to verify immigration status. So they're talking about how, T1 visas and DACA, DACA status, which one would get a license, and T1 would, so it's kind of like there's some gray zones with immigration. And then we talked, of course, about the compact that we talked about that. So I think that's kind of the trend for the future. It seems like, with medicine already having a national board, and the merger with CDCA Rev and CETA and, all that, I think we're getting to that point. Okay. Any comments at all?
I have a question. Have y'all heard anything about the OSCE exam that ADA and ADHA, that is it just a written exam and everything?
It is just a written exam.
Dr. McNeil.
So it's a computer-based examination, and I believe there's 4 states that will accept it directly for initial licensure
Instead of doing a clinical.
instead of doing a clinical examination. And I think, to Dr. Yu's point, the next 4 to 5 years in the area of examination and licensure is you better hold on to your seat, because it'll be interesting. And, from an ADEX perspective, they've got one type of system with one type of tooth structure to work on and patents. And then we've got this Promethean that I'll discuss in my section of the report. Lots of moving pieces and how that all interacts and how that's going to be confluent into the possible licensure compact. It'll be interesting.
I think the only state that may not participate in that is Florida. Because they don't participate in anything else. They do their own exam to do their own board.
Well, except we already have a national board, so I don't understand the
Right, well, make
concept
it
of
universal.
having another one.
Exactly. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and I think Dr. McNeil about that, because Canada accepts the DLOSCE, and so does Washington, and I think there's 4 states. Yeah, Oregon. Oregon accepts it. Okay. Any other comments or? So
I just have one more.
yes.
Because you were talking about Oregon and assistants doing some things. Minnesota now allows dental assistants to administer local anesthesia.
Dental assistants.
Yes.
Dental assistants?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yes, that's correct.
Wow.
Texas.
There was some legislation,
Right.
but it didn't go anywhere. Last legislative.
Oh, we've had it on there every year since 1989.
Oh, she's like,
First Texas was the last to recognize hygiene.
Yeah. We're digressing.
We're digressing.
Yeah.
And next on the agenda, the Texas Tech Dental School. I asked Dr. Black to update us. Is he available?
oh, no, it's first during his report.
Okay. Sorry.
Wonder.
Yeah, I see. Whoa, I didn't read that.
Coming off script.
Sorry. Well, while we're waiting, I wanted to have executive privilege by, the Holiday Wishes 2021 campaign hosted by the Governor's Commission for Women and State Agency Council. Recognized Ms. Wendy Richardson for the leadership on that project, and proud to say that the board staff to more than 4 kids and in child protective services, which is awesome. And by the way, if any board members would like to contribute next year, they're open to that. Okay.
Next year, we'll open it up to the full board. Yeah. This year was our first time.
That is.
I sent Mr.
Participating.
Nichols an email thanking her and the staff for what they did.
It was,
I really appreciate it.
it was very heartwarming. Everybody just came out in droves
What
to
a great
assist and
cause.
Yeah, I agree. What a great cause. Thank you all for doing that, staff. What a way to lead that, Wendy. Proud of you.
Barbie mansions and bikes galore.
Oh, neat.
That's
You
great.
guys are awesome.
I wanna go play. Yeah, I know.
Where's Dr. Black on? No.
Do you have a cell phone number?
let me see what I have.
I have it if you need it.
We can.
Oh.
Can we do it in the
Could you
public?
text him?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we could. move it.
Because I
Yeah,
said
just move
it would
to
be
the end.
before 10, so
Yeah.
maybe they weren't anticipating this early.
Okay. I'm sorry. I should slow down.
No,
No, I keep going.
I don't think anybody's mad
No,
about
keep going.
you moving things along.
I mean, if we can't get a hold of them, we can move it down to public comment.
Right.
Yeah, that or announcements
You're
even.
talking
We could,
about Rick Black, that's correct, right?
Yes. Yeah.
in fact, we could just do it during the announcements.
Oh, okay.
Have him,
Yeah, worst case scenario.
Jump
There's
on.
also keynotes.
Yeah, everyone got an email an hour ago, right?
Thank you.
okay, if he's not on, you want to just go ahead and move forward. And then if when he,
Yeah,
if
do you
will you
mind
let us know
letting
if he
Dr.
jumps
Black
on?
know that we're have him join us? Is it at the end?
We can do it during the announcements. It'll be right before we
Okay.
adjourn.
Okay, so at the end of the board, towards the end of the board.
Unless you'd like them to during public comment. Either one is fine.
Well, whatever one of these are.
She is texting it to let him know.
He has answers.
Are you guys okay so far? You want to break or?
No, we're good.
Okay. So next on the agenda is Professional Recovery Network. And I don't believe Ms. Raquel.
Yeah, she's unavailable, so her representative is Will Turney. Is Mr. Turney available? Okay, great. There he is.
Miss Ramirez, Dr. Black's assistant just texted me or emailed me and saying that they're ready for us.
Oh, okay. Well, would you rather go ahead and do?
The other person.
Yeah, let's do.
The PRN, okay.
And then how about after?
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Turney, you are on. Did you have any summaries or anything? The board did read the letter that was sent. Mr. Turney, do you hear us? Don't think he hears
I don't
us.
think he can hear us. Chat to him.
Hi, Mr. Turney.
Hi, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And we do have the letter, the report in our packet, but is there anything you wanted to talk about or review with the board?
None in particular. I was just going to go over the report that Raquel provided me.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Will Turney, and I'm a social worker with Professional Recovery Network. And I'm going to report on our first quarter of fiscal year 2022. Regarding our program enrollment and compliance, PRN continues to receive a steady number of referrals regarding potentially impaired dentists, dental hygienists, and dental assistants. Compliance by current participants has been acceptable, and all concerns regarding public safety have been reported to the Texas State Board of Dental Examiners. We recently held our fall seminar on Friday, October 22nd via an online webinar format. Our presenter was Rachel Garner, LCSWS, Group CEO for the Right Step, Hill Country and Promises in Wimberley. She specializes in dual diagnosis treatment as well as child and family treatment. Licensed as a clinical social worker, she received her master's in social work from the University of Hawaii and has been working in the field of substance use disorders for 12 years. The seminar's topic was a neurological approach to treating addiction and trauma. The topic focused on the science and neurobiology of substance use disorders and toxic stress to better understand common behaviors associated with those experiencing addiction and alcoholism, particularly in early recovery. Rachel also discussed approaches to treatment along with interventions to better support individuals in recovery from addiction, alcoholism, and trauma. We recently had a PRN advisory committee meeting the morning before the fall PRN seminar on Thursday, October 21st, 2021 via Zoom. With regards to our program visibility, PRN continues to look for opportunities to increase our outreach efforts to dental professionals. Outreach efforts have been made to promote program awareness through dental schools in Texas, as well as advertising through the Texas Dental Journal. And I'll move on to our fiscal year 2021 annual performance audit, which was conducted in September. The numbers included licensed dentists, dental assistants, and dental hygienists who are participants enrolled in PRN. The performance audit reviewed data for 3 key items: the total number of participants in the PRN program who hold a dentist, dental assistant, or dental hygienist license and are enrolled in PRN; the recidivism rate, which is defined as the percentage of individuals who experienced a relapse 3 years after successfully completing their first year of sobriety while enrolled in PRN; and the 1-year completion rate, which is defined as the percentage of individuals who successfully completed their first year of sobriety while enrolled in PRN. This year, the results were, we had 35 licensed dentists in PRN, 0 licensed dental assistants, 3 licensed dental hygienists. The recidivism rate for fiscal year of 2021 was 50%, and the 1-year completion rate was 90.9%. And finally, I'd like to go over our current legislative budget board numbers. The numbers for September 1st, 2020 through October 31st, 2021 were submitted to TSBDE on September 10th, 2021. LBB numbers include all licensed dentists, dental hygienists, and dental assistants enrolled in the PRN program. We had 14 board-ordered dentists, 0 compelled volunteer dentists, 20 volunteer dentists, 2 board-ordered hygienists, 1 volunteer hygienist, and 0 board-ordered or volunteer dental assistants. And that completes our report for this quarter.
Questions for, thank you, Mr. Turney. Any questions for Mr. Turney from PRN? Dr. McNeil?
I have a question that you may know the answer to or may not know the answer to, and this sort of blends in with some of the information that we discussed in our disciplinary review committee meeting yesterday, dealing specifically with one of the House bills, House Bill 1540, dealing with solicitation of prostitution being a felony. And my question was, does PRN deal with any of the realms of sexual addiction?
I have not seen that. I don't think, well, I guess, so we are a substance use or mental health oriented program. And so if it falls under that realm of like a mental health disorder that's can be diagnosed, then I could see it happening, but I haven't seen that before.
Okay. And I think from a board perspective and a disciplinary review committee perspective, we're just trying to see what's appropriate on our end to make certain things available to our licensees. So that may be something just to at least have on your radar screen as we try to process moving forward. Thank you.
I can look at that. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from Mr. Turney? Mr. Turney, I have and I don't know if you can answer this, but what was interesting is that we really never talk about recidivism. And, how is PRN mitigating some of that, 3-year, 50% relapse recidivism with random drug screening follow-ups or anything like that once they've gone through the program?
Once they've completed the program? I'm honestly not sure. I would have to look into that for you.
Well, I mean, in terms of data, do you know what the typical benchmark for recidivism rate during, like for drug offenders are? I mean, is it like 60% or around the 50% relapse?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I would have to ask Raquel about that.
Well, it's okay. I just wanted to throw it out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all you do and PRN work. Save the mental health of not just dentists, hygienists, and assistants, but keep the public safe also. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Can we go back to agenda item 6 so that you can introduce? Okay. Are they available?
He's downstairs, will come up to log in. The latest I got.
Sure.
Would you like to wait?
Should be pretty clear.
I don't mind starting my report and letting him in the middle of my report check in, so that I can continue.
I mean, we're already going out of order. I mean, we're going back, not really out of order. It's up to you guys. I would say either wait on him and just do it now, or have them talk during the announcements or public comment section.
Yeah, the problem is that
We're gonna have to keep waiting.
that's the issue.
It was difficult because we couldn't give them an exact time
Right.
to jump on.
I know he's busy.
It's not my fault this time.
And it won't, they're just going to introduce themselves and say hi. It won't take very long.
They do have their first class.
Yeah. Interesting to see how the school's doing, especially with COVID. It's just.
El Paso.
Any comments about that?
Well, I think it's interesting that it's going to be a requirement that the students come out with certain bilingual requirements as far as speaking Spanish.
And that's one of the prereqs.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I met one of the professors at our board, at our Rev meeting, our Rev exam in Denver. And she was telling us about the first down school class. She was really excited. Yeah, yeah.
It's very innovative. It's
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a great program.
Will some classes be taught in Spanish? Or
Yes, I mean, like dental terms.
Mhm.
And you can probably go into more of that, but I think it's so that they can communicate in dental terms as far as what's going on with them.
They have to take a Spanish class as part of the curriculum.
Oh, interesting.
To go there. They wanted to make it a requirement to get in, and they decided they didn't teach this course in the dental curriculum. It's Spanish that they have to pass in order to continue on, just like any biology or anything else. Only one I know of.
Is it just Spanish?
Just Spanish, then it's Spanish, dental terms and language and communication with patients, health history.
Yeah, that is.
The director of clinics, Wendy. I knew in Dallas back in the day teaching back when she first got out of school and years ago. Now she's running clinics at the dental school.
She's awesome. She is. Do you know if the classes are in person?
I believe they are, but I haven't talked to her since. This was right when they were taking students.
Especially it's better for us to call if they're asking me about, as well as the number.
Yeah, let's just call. Whatever you guys think.
Right.
Are you just gonna?
Yeah, this was, it would be the assistance number, so I'm asking her for it. I'm also gonna provide ours.
Another 346 area code. Behave.
As always.
Just say.
Saying.
Oh, sorry. I was late.
Oh, no, I just did.
She says she's logging in now.
Oh.
There we go.
There she is.
I saw something.
Yeah, I did too. Oh, I think it was Linda Burke. Coming back.
I blinked.
Yeah, I saw it.
You and I both.
Yeah, never mind. Dr. Burke.
I have a little bit first. I haven't seen Brenda.
Okay, see, that's not the same thing. I saw it moving.
I know, I saw it.
There she is.
I saw it.
Yes. Miss Pride is doing a wonderful job keeping us both in check.
Down
Did you
to the
notice-
energy.
It's a full-time.
Did you notice the bat's just in the left hand?
Reinforcement on both sides.
Not wrong.
Did you know that was your job when you sat there?
She was-
I didn't.
We
Don't
just
you feel
rightly know.
special?
I had a fast track notification
Yeah.
from both of them.
Yeah.
Oh, a pre-warning from both of them.
So far, we're behaving ourselves.
Yeah. Like, you know, all you gotta do is just this. I mean,
Just-
just that, yeah.
Like at home.
Just like at home.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just like at home, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, she really is in the lion's den over here.
Welcome to the board.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
amazing for between the two of you.
I feel a little hate today.
Does anyone need some coffee while we're waiting as well?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you.
Bring a traveler.
I'm a traveler, yeah. I'm gonna put my cap on and talk like that.
Well, I'm gonna give it to Neil and then we're just gonna either do it at the end or, do it- yeah, for the next meeting.
I'm not saying that life's good. Sitting here.
I know. I just don't know.
I just didn't know that the blessing of coffee was called. They don't call it large. call it
You got it?
Yes.
Oh, she's here. She's just.
Oh, Tyler.
Oh.
No, never did.
I thought I was gonna say,
You would let
no, my wife would.
He was a cool cat. Yeah.
Like to see you in there.
He was, I enjoyed it. Yeah. Let me tell you about Yes.
He went to a lottery, just reduced the lottery commission and a seersucker suit and got the job. Yeah. Like he must have this.
Guys,
In the water.
And it's like it's. Oh.
That's a real lot. There's a regulatory body.
That I know.
Yeah, really. Mhm.
No, he's on. I said.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah, let him in.
Sorry, everybody.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. I think they on. There we go. I see.
Hi, Dr. Black, Dr. Dean Black.
Hi, I hope you can hear me.
Yes. Do you have video at all?
I think I do.
Great.
Perfect.
Go.
There we go.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Did you want to give us a quick rundown on how things are going with your new dental school?
I am happy to do that. We are up and running. We started July the 6th with 40 students. They are just now finishing up a very long first semester. We had 956 applications that in that first cycle last winter, and we had in that pool 416 males, 547 females. 766 of those applications were reviewed by admissions. 106 offers were made, and the final class is 14 males, 26 females. Of the males, 3 Hispanic, 9 white, 1 black, 1 Asian. The females, 11 Hispanic, 6 white, 1 black, 7 Asian, and 2 of more than one race. 2 students were from out of state. I have 23 faculty. That's very good for the size class that we have, but we'll have to have more faculty. Obviously, we're going to bring in 60 now, from now on, 60 a year until we get a bigger facility. We, at one time, were contemplating trying to open in 2020. We were very glad that we didn't try to do that, and that we took time, extra time, writing our own integrated curriculum. So it delayed us by a year, and it kind of got us out of at least major COVID. We've had to deal with Delta, but it has been, this medical center has been one of the safest places in the county, with about 99% of people here vaccinated. So we're coping with that, I think, very well. We're very pleased that our students are coming to class 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and sometimes on the weekends. They take a combination of 20 hours of simulated training and 20 hours of didactic training. What else can I tell you? I have lots of facts at my fingertips, but I'm happy to share with you whatever you'd like to know.
Dr. McNeil.
Dean, thank you for giving us that insight. Or right now, is it correct that you're currently not seeing any patients? This is all didactic work right now.
No, our students were starting July the 6th, were prepared. There were no corners cut. They went through the preparation necessary to be able to see a live patient in November, in which they did a simple one surface restoration. This is what we promised them. We want our students to feel confident. I thought they did beautifully. If you would have walked in, you would not have known that they weren't D4 students. They were entirely prepared. And I will add, Dr. McNeil, that my clinical dean and my academic dean are both Rev CDCA examiners. And they absolutely would not have allowed them to see a live patient unless they thought they were prepared.
That's great.
That's terrific.
Dr. Henderson?
Dr. Black, Brian Henderson, and yeah, I examined with Dr. Woodall, and we've had that discussion many times, and I congratulate you on getting your class started.
Thank you. My clinical dean is Dr. Fadi Fadul, who some of you who examine would have met him before. If you were talking to him this morning, he would say, gee, when I got here, I wasn't quite sure this was going to work. But immediately he said, one of the things he noticed early on is that out of the 40, he thought that 20 had some outstanding hand skills. And he said, we don't usually see that. So I think we were fortunate in that. We don't have a specialized test necessarily for that. But they're bright. They're when prepared, they can do very well, and I'm very proud of them.
Dr. Black, we're very proud of all your hard work. I know how hard you worked on this project, and we're very proud that the first class is there. There were some questions about the Spanish part of the curriculum. I don't know if
yes. We tell our students that one of the important aspects of our curriculum is that you can't graduate unless you can speak professional dental Spanish. Now we have all kinds of Spanish learners, and so the advanced Spanish learners sort of tutor the folks who've never spoken Spanish before. And after 3 semesters, if you're advanced, you can take an interpreter's test and pass out of Spanish. But we will teach you Spanish until we're satisfied that you can converse in a professional way. We're also very, and thank you, Dr. Maldonado, we're also very interested in culturally competent care. Our students will leave here with about 14 credits towards a master's in public health, or we've just been given permission to have them work with the University of Texas at Houston Public Health to get a master's in public health while they are here. So they can go either route, but we want them to be leaders in their community wherever they go. We're not going to keep them all in El Paso or West Texas, but we are going to insist that they understand the underserved population. They understand what it's about, and they need to have a part of their practice, a piece of their heart for folks who cannot either afford to see the dentist or for some other reason can't be seen. We have target counties. We are part of the Texas Tech system. If you think, as you all know, I don't need to remind you that about 60% of our licensees, practice in 5 counties in Texas: Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Fort Worth, and Dallas. Eastern Texas is just as underserved as Western Texas is. Now, Texas Tech started by the legislature in the 1920s, and you can see the result of the work in Amarillo, Lubbock, Abilene, Midland, Odessa, San Angelo, and El Paso. So it made sense to them to put the newest school in North America in the most populous city in the tech area. And we're doing our best to recruit along the border, South Texas, Western Texas. The competition out there to go to dental school is not abated. There's some excellent students because of the size of our state. I mean, we're going to have some students from Dallas and Austin and Houston and Fort Worth, and we do. But 47% of our class was from those targeted counties, which are mostly west of I-35.
Any other questions, Ms. Blair?
I did have one question. You mentioned the Masters in Public Health, them having 14 hours toward that. Is that a program there at Lubbock?
It's a program here in El Paso. It's unique to our school. They are able to, they will be issued a certificate. And we've made sure with the public health folks that these would apply should you decide to get a master's of public health after you graduate. We've just added now in partnership with the University of Texas that you can earn a master's in public health while you're here getting your DMD.
So that would be considered an accredited program, right?
Yes, it's an accredited program because the accreditation comes from UT School of Public Health in Houston, which is a very well-known school. They actually have a campus here in El Paso.
But that's not CODA approved, just.
Oh, CODA is all about what we're doing in the dental school to turn out a competent dentist who can work independently and then safe to the public. That's CODA and you all.
Are you training dental assistants or any plans for training dental hygienists there?
Yeah, we have a very nice school here at the community college that's training hygienists and assistants, and we didn't just want to come in and step on them. So we think in the future, we're going to offer a bachelor's degree in hygiene, which you would do mostly online with a few visits to the school. But we think that's an important part of the future. I think the future practice should have and can have a little bit better trained hygienist if they want for lots of reasons, lots of testing and things like that. And I think it appeals to our community dentists here. By the way, we have a great relationship. We have already about 40 community dentists on our adjunct faculty here, and they're very supportive, which we feel very good about.
Well, any other comments or? Well, I just want to thank you, Dean, for making such a wonderful, successful school happen, and definitely trailblazing, as far as dental schools go. But I appreciate the follow-up and and being able to get on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's good to see you all. I know some of you, and I want to thank you for your hard work. This is a tough job, and I, for one, certainly appreciate what you do. Good luck and have a great rest of your meeting, and I'll see you again, I hope, sometime before too long, and have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so any comments? So next on our agenda is the licensing. So Dr. Kirsch, would you like a discussion?
Yep, I will. First of all, I want to thank my committee members, Dr. McNeil, Ms. Palermo, Dr. Maldonado, Ms. Lori Jones, and also our presiding officer, Dr. Yu, ex officio. The first line item on the agenda was possible committee action on dental and hygiene applicants attesting that they will not provide care prior to obtaining a license. I know this was a concern, so we just wanted to, it didn't require a vote on the committee. It was just making sure that they knew they're not supposed to practice without a license. So that was pretty straightforward. Is that right, Ms. Nichols?
Yes, that's correct.
Anything to that, or?
You hit the nail on the head. So we added some verbiage to the licensing applications for both hygiene and dentists. You can see that in your materials. It doesn't require a vote, like Dr. Keir said. I just wanted you all to see what we had done. So that will be in there moving forward.
Okay. Now I would like to call on Ms. Mendez to lead us through DDS 1 through DDS 5.
Good morning, board members. So our first DDS 1, we had 2022Q2 DDS 1. Licensing committee voted to grant Dr. Esquivel his exception to board rule. Do I just go down?
No, Dr. Esquivel he qualified in all aspects. He was a couple of months late from his rev exam that he took 5 years. He does have a practicing license in Louisiana. So we felt it was within the protocol to go ahead and accept exception to board rule on that. And the committee voted unanimous on that.
So do I hear a motion to approve the committee recommendation to accept the exception to board rule for 2022 Q2 DDS 1?
Need a motion since it's a motion from the committee.
We don't need a motion, we just need a vote. Because it's
I
coming out.
thought we
We don't need
just-
a motion, we just don't need a second.
Just don't need a second.
You need a motion, but you don't
So
need a
so
second.
no second, since it came from committee. Dr. Burke makes the motion.
The motion, I thought the motion was from the committee.
It is, but Dr. Kirsch would say, the committee makes the motion to accept this, whatever your verdict, or to deny the verdict, because it's coming out of committee.
So we just should hear
Yeah.
to vote on it. We don't need a second. on it.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so all in favor, or did you want to roll on this? or-
It's whatever you want.
Okay.
Doctor,
Let's-
you tell me, you want to do
Yeah.
a roll call?
For this one, let's go ahead and show hands and rate, say aye, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, board. Kirsch?
Okay, next one, Ms. Mendez is 2022-Q2-DDS2.
Yes, so the licensing committee received a request from Dr. Hawkins for an exception to board rules. She passed her on the 4th attempt, her endodontic component. The committee voted to deny her request.
So again, she failed her exam 3 times according to board rule. We have to have a remediation of 80 hours approved by the board and has to be a CODA approved. And she took it upon herself to go ahead and take the exam again without asking for approval. So the committee voted against granting her exception to board rule. And this was unanimous at a committee as well.
We have a motion to approve the committee's recommendation to deny request to exception to board rule. Dr. Burke again, thank you. No second, as it came from committee. Can we roll?
I can if you'd like me to. Dr. Brian Henderson,
Or
Dr. Robert McNeil,
or
Dr. Kirch, 4, Ms. Lois Palermo,
4.
Dr. Linda Burke,
4.
Dr. Maldonado,
4.
Dr. Yu,
4.
Ms. Lori Jones,
4.
Ms. Catherine Sisk,
4.
and Ms. Marquita Pride,
4.
and Dr. Melcher is not here. So
All in, yeah.
it's unanimous. Yes,
Dr. Kirsch. Q2-DDS3.
yes. All right, our next one again is 2022-Q2-DDS3. And Ms. Mendez, if you'd lead us on this one as well.
Yes, so board staff brought this application to the committee. Board staff approved this application in error. When we received a complaint, we received a complaint about Dr. Kumar that indicated she did not meet the board's licensure requirements. After we reviewed the application, it was determined that her application was actually approved in error. We notified the applicant of the error, submitted the application to the committee for an exception to board rule. The applicant has not completed an ADA approved specialty from CODA that consisted of at least 2 years of training as specified by the Council on Dental Education. The committee, go ahead, Dr. Kirsch.
No, go ahead. Yeah, again, this is Dr. Kumar. And
They would like to speak if the board would like.
Can I explain
Yes,
something real quick?
yes,
So
please.
Dr. Kumar is a foreign trained dentist, did not go to a accredited, CODA accredited dental school. She came in, did a residency through the dental health care with 1 year of CODA, and our requirements are 2 years of CODA accredited residency And therefore, the committee has denied exception to board rule. And that was voted on unanimously as well.
And they are available. She is here with her attorney if the board would like to speak to them. Come on. Yep, go ahead, please.
Any questions for Dr.? He has denied exception to board rule. And that was voted on unanimously as well.
This, could you please turn it off? They are available. She is here with her attorney if the board would like to speak to them. Yeah, go ahead, please. Hi, Mr. Smith.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you're streaming the meeting on another device near you, will you please mute it? It provides feedback to.
He has denied exception to board rule. And that was voted on unanimously.
I just muted it.
Thank you. So the committee recommendation is to deny the exception. The board is ready to hear from you and your client if you'd like to address the board.
I'm here to answer any questions. I sent a letter this morning, curious if the board has been able to receive that and read that. It stated basically that Dr. Kumar is willing to do any training, remedial, or supervision under a licensed dentist if necessary, basically stating she would accept a provisional or a probated license, anything to do to get her license in the state of Texas.
Mr. Smith, we did get that email this morning. Our licensing director is going to review that, but that's not this is not an appropriate action to consider that request since it's not what we're hearing today.
Yes, ma'am.
But we will follow up.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Smith or his client? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
You can go forward with the recommendation.
So that was it. The committee voted again unanimously to deny exception to board rule. So.
Is that appropriate motion?
Yep.
We have rescinded the license. So.
No, it
No, we're
was
not.
never
The
rescinded.
license, it's as if the license never existed.
Yep.
So do I hear a motion to approve the committee recommendation to deny the exception?
Did we already have a motion?
George.
It came out of committee. Did I make that motion here?
You just said it.
And I did. Yes. And I've already
got it. Okay. Dr. Kirsch made the motion. No second needed as it came from committee.
You want to read?
Yeah, let's read.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Brian Henderson.
Or.
Dr. Robert McNeil. Or. Dr. George Geert in favor. Miss Lois Palermo.
For.
Dr. Melcher's absent. Dr. Linda Burke.
For.
Miss Dr. Yvonne Maldonado.
For.
Dr. David Yu.
For.
Miss Lori Jones.
For.
Miss Catherine Sisk.
For.
And Miss Marquita Pride.
For.
Motion carries
Kirsch. Next on the agenda is Q2022 Q2 DDS 4. Dr. Kirsch.
Yes, again, Ms. Palermo, and I believe Norwood is here too. Yeah. This is another case where the student failed the exam 3 times, was informed to take another exam, took another exam, passed a portion of that exam. So what the committee decided to do to save her some time, we denied her request to accept one of the exams because she didn't take the 80 hours, but we have approved for her to take 80 hours and retake the whole exam. Did I summarize that right, Ms. Mendez?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and Dr. was very pleased with that as well. So,
did you want to?
Anyone has questions?
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Blairwood? Lauren? So none. Okay. So Dr. Kirsch made the motion. No second needed. Let's roll.
Okay,
please.
Dr. Brian Henderson, or Dr. Robert McNeil, or Dr. George Geert in favor. Miss Lois Palermo.
For.
Dr. Margot Milcher's not here. Dr. Burke, Linda Burke.
For.
Sorry. Dr. Yvonne Maldonado.
For.
Dr. David Yu.
Four.
Miss Lori Jones.
4.
Miss Catherine Sisk.
4.
Miss Marquita Pride.
4.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. So next is Q2 DDS 5, Dr. Kirsch.
And this is a candidate who did fail 3 times and is requesting to take 80 hours at NYU, which is a coded accredited school, and this was voted on unanimously.
To approve.
To approve, yes. Her 80 hours for remediation, so she could take the exam again.
So the motion was by Dr. Kirsch to accept the approval for remediation. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, let's roll again if you don't mind.
All right, Dr. Henderson.
4.
Dr. Robert McNeil, 4. Dr. Kirch, 4. Miss Lois Palermo.
4.
Dr. Melcher is absent. Dr. Linda Burke.
4.
Dr. Yvonne Maldonado.
4.
Dr. David Yu.
That's easier.
Yeah, right?
Except when
Dr. Lori, Mrs. Lori, just soon to be Dr. Lori.
4.
Miss Catherine Sisk.
4.
Miss Marquita Pride.
4.
And that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Dr. Kirsch. And next is the licensing on the code 101.14.
And I'll let Ms. Studdard lead us in this discussion on the next 2 because they're both tied together, military.
Yeah, so the first rule 101.4 was proposed at the last board meeting, and now it's up for adoption, and the committee recommended to unanimously voted to approve adoption of this rule.
Motion to adopt. Okay, Dr. Burke motions, second, no second as it came from committee. And let's show of hands and say aye for those in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, board. Next is 103.10.
Yeah, so this rule again was proposed at the last board meeting, and the committee voted unanimously to approve adoption of this rule.
So the motion is, any motion to adopt 103.10? Ms. Pride, motions, no second as it came from committee. Let's show of hands and say aye for.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Unanimous once again. When you,
Dr. Yu, that concludes my licensing committee report.
thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kirsch, and your committee's work. Dr. Burke on dental practice.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank my committee, which was Dr. Yvonne Maldonado, Dr. Brian Henderson, Miss Lois Palermo, Miss Catherine Sisk was absent, and we also had Dr. David Yu, our ex officio, present as well. Our committee yesterday took action on one agenda item, and that was regarding Rule 108.74 as it relates to call coverage agreements. And Ms. Studdard, would you like to review that for us?
Yes, so this rule was proposed at the last September board meeting, and the committee unanimously voted to approve adoption of this rule.
Yeah.
And there were no stakeholders.
And there were no comments, right?
No comments, yes. And then, so I would like to make a motion for the board to adopt the amended Rule 108.74 as it came out unanimously out of our committee, dental practice committee yesterday.
No second needed as it came from committee, but any comments or questions? Seeing none. Let's raise hand and say aye for those in favor. Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous again. Thank you. Dr. McNeil, Disciplinary Review Committee.
Terrific, thank you. I too would like to thank my committee members. We had Dr. Maldonado. Dr. Melcher was absent, of course, due to her wedding today. We missed her greatly. We had Miss Pride, which was wonderful having you join us for our first time in a committee meeting, and then had Dr. Yu participate as well. I covered some of the issues, and we will have a recommendation for a rule coming out of committee. But first, we'll talk about what I'd referenced previously with PRN. House Bill 1540 changes solicitation of prostitution to be a felony, which means that it will be an automatic revocation of a license, dental license, hygiene and dental assisting license. That ties in with our disciplinary matrix that was done several years ago. So there's no change from a board rule standpoint. I think there was a general discussion at our committee meeting to say, let's reach out to PRN such as we just did. Let's perhaps put some information in the newsletter that comes out from us, just sort of notifying our group about that change, and hopefully have some people get some help that they need, because it will be an issue that we will be dealing with. Any specific questions, comments? Did I miss anything, staff, on that specific item? Okay.
As Dr. McNeil stated, we'll put a write-up in our next newsletter, just informing.
And that may be something too that we work with some of our stakeholders as well, either through the PPA, and just to make sure that something like that is known about. One of the other things we did, we had a presentation by Promethean. Several of us that were at the AADB online meeting saw a presentation from these folks. I believe Ms. Nichols had sent out a link, and they have a great website with a lot of different things that they're doing. Once again, Dr. Yu had kind of referenced many of the points earlier on in the meeting, so I won't belabor it. We're going to try to see if they can come and actually do a demo. Lots of things are happening in the examination and the remediation component. That specifically was the presentation to us, is what types of things can they offer from a remediation standpoint. Mostly, and I think their target group is people that have had multiple failed standard of care issues with boards, sort of the repeat offenders, if you will. They're going to have a customized program that they will put together that can offer certain remediation, certain hands-on things through their simulator. So that's one of the things they do, and just sort of presented that material to us. The last item is a specific recommendation for a rule that came out of committee. It was unanimous, and I will move that we adopt. This is Administrative Rule 107.204 that deals with remedial plans.
Correct. Except it'll be up to propose.
To propose.
So did you want to talk a little bit about that, or okay?
I'm happy to talk about it.
And Ms. Camp, maybe if you
Yes,
can give
sure.
us, there's some nuanced approaches to this, and I think you were helpful yesterday at helping walk the committee through some of the particulars here.
Sure. So this rule enacts Senate Bill 1534 out of this last 87th legislature regular session. And it allows the board to remove remedial plans after 5 years of the effective date of the remedial plan upon successful completion of those requirements. The nuances that we've discussed are that the bill specifically prevents a remedial plan from being removed if it's related to the delivery of healthcare, or if the respondent had prior similar violations. Then it's not eligible for removal. We do have a mechanism in there for that request to be made. It will require a request, much like an expunction or a non-disclosure agreement for the criminal case. Our licensees would have to request those to be taken down. This does not prevent people from getting another remedial plan in the future, as long as it's 5 years from the date of the last remedial plan. It only applies to remedial plans issued after September 1st of this year. So all remedial plans issued before that will remain on the website as public information. This also does not prevent you, the board members in an ISC, to issue a remedial plan for the same or similar conduct, as long as it's 5 years or more after the last one. that remedial plan just would not be eligible for removal down the line. Are there any specific questions or intricacies we'd like to discuss about this?
I thought it was a very nice job on this rule that you wrote. And I'm glad you pointed up healthcare, because I'm thinking, what remedial plan do we really give in an ISC that doesn't involve some form of healthcare? So I think our stakeholders need to be aware of that.
And that's also why we included the analysis from the actual healthcare related Senate committee that shows that the intent of the legislature was really to allow us to remove minor violations. So we're talking record keeping, administrative issues, but not anything that's like a standard of care, over treatment, those sorts of things. We unfortunately did not get a definition of what is healthcare or services delivery of healthcare from the legislature. So this bill does make it a may remove, not a shall, and then we've also included a way for board to have, or board staff, excuse me, to have oversight to be able to review all of those requests to make that determination. So we're not necessarily blocked in. And like all of our rules, should we get 5 years down the line and we're seeing an issue with it, we can always revisit if we need to be clear about what health is healthcare related. But I also do think that you all being practitioners know what is healthcare and what is not the delivery of healthcare.
And if there's any questions, it'll go back to the disciplinary.
Yeah, that's
committee. And just point of information, Ms. Camp did not write the bill. It's House Bill.
Only the rule. Yes.
She wrote the rule. That's what he was referring. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. You did say that. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? It's a really good. I actually think it's a good thing that we're offering, because a lot of times we use remedial plans as CE. And it's usually not, involving patient harm. So, it's a good mechanism that it's not a black mark for the rest of their career for them. So the motion was from Dr. McNeil on accepting the proposed amendment. Is that correct?
Proposed rule.
Proposed rule 107.204. Do I guess we're just gonna raise hands and all in favor and say aye.
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 Unanimous minus Dr. Kirsch.
And
And
Dr.
Dr. Melcher. Thank you.
And then my last item is just a general comment about caseload and how things are moving forward in such a great manner. The ISC schedule has been modified where we do not need as many ISC slots moving forward in the next calendar year. And so there was a general sense of agreement that took a lot of teamwork on everyone's part. So we're very, very thankful for everything that was done to staff and board level on that. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. McNeil. And great job, board, on the ISCs. I second that too. Any public comments, or did you just want to take a break?
Do we have any public comments? No.
Dr. Vogel would like to speak.
Dr. Vogel would like to speak. He was unable to join us yesterday for dental practice. Yeah. So we'd like to address the full board.
Okay.
But if you wanted a break beforehand, it's up to you.
Let's just do.
Do him. Okay. All right. The board's ready for him.
We're connecting it by phone.
Okay.
Or no, he's on now.
I see him.
No? Okay, great.
He's on there right now. Yeah, it's audio.
It's connecting. maybe having connectivity issues. We were told yesterday that he was possibly traveling, so.
Yeah. I think he'd prefer that.
Okay, let's just try
His
calling
most
him.
recent was just, please call me.
Call him, okay. And just so the board knows, I believe he would like to talk about Botox. And as a reminder, it's not an agenda item, so it shouldn't be a discussion. We'll just hear what he has to say.
Oh, we're not discussing it, we're just listening.
Just listening.
Shoulders sweet. Oh, we're public.
Hello. Hi, Dr. Vogel, you have the full board listening. Did you have any public comments?
Yes. Well, first of all, I just want to thank y'all so much, and I apologize if my connection is spotty or there's sounds. I'm literally in the middle of the jungle right now, so the fact that I have service is pretty incredible. But I wanted to thank y'all very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. And it's my first time ever speaking before the board, and I'm not quite sure if this is the proper, appropriate venue or time to be speaking on this, but I wanted to speak on policy updates on the Botox and dermal fillers. I am specifically coming before this committee to discuss the scope of practice issues regarding the administration of Botox and dermal fillers for general dentists in the state of Texas for non-therapeutic reasons. I strongly believe this topic deserves reconsideration by the board with testimony from expert witnesses. For background, dentists are highly trained doctors of the head and neck region. We generally have a minimum of 8 years of post-secondary education and are well-versed in the anatomy and physiology of the head and neck region, including physical dissection. On a daily basis, we inject anesthetics and other medicaments subcutaneously near vital structures. Currently, there are 27 states that allow dentists to administer Botox for various reasons, and even Nevada allows dental hygienists to administer Botox. In the state of Texas, those that can administer Botox include MDs, PAs, RNs, and with proper supervision, LVNs, which is only a 12-month educational program. So as y'all are aware, the scope of practice of dentistry is defined by the Texas Occupational Code. And what's not explicitly stated is then left for the interpretation of the board. The Texas Occupational Code defines the practice of dentistry in Section 1B to provide surgical adjunctive treatment for a disease, pain, injury, deficiency, deformity, or physical condition of the human teeth, oral cavity, alveolar process, gums, jaws, or directly related and adjacent masticatory structures. I believe linguistically, this section is written very broadly, such that the administration of Botox and dermal fillers can be interpreted to be within our scope of practice. First, we are allowed to provide surgical and adjunctive treatment. An adjunct is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as something that is supplemental and not something essential. Secondly, the code states that we can use adjunctive treatments for disease, pain, injury, specifically deficiency, deformity, or physical condition. Deficiency can be defined as a lack, shortage, or shortcoming. Deformity can be defined as the state of being misshapen or deformed and is a physical condition. And further examining the code, the most important thing, though, is we as general dentists may do these adjunctive treatments for the aforementioned reasons as it relates to specific parts of the body, including human teeth, oral cavity, alveolar process, gum, jaws, or directly related and adjacent masticatory structures. So I think the most important words here are jaws and related masticatory structures, which essentially defines the entirety of the face. I could go into the specifics, but basically words matter. They're symbols and what we derive meaning from. And what the words of the Texas Occupational Code state is that it is within our scope of practice for a dentist to administer adjunctive treatment for disease, deformity, or deficiency. And currently, we can administer Botox therapeutically for TMD and headache to essentially any place in the face, but we're not allowed to do it for cosmetic reasons. And as it stands, it's currently just based on the interpretation of the board. So I'm asking that the board allow us to gather expert witnesses, lawyers, linguistic professors to re-examine this issue.
All right, thank you, Dr. Vogel.
Thank you, Dr. Vogel, for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions or that I needed to say?
This was a public comment, so the board, I don't think has any questions at this time. We appreciate your time and safe travels.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a 15-minute break at this point. Okay, so 15-minute break. Time now is 10:24 a.m. Examiners will now come back from break. The time is 10:40. Thank you. The next on our agenda is agency activity reports. The first one being the Executive Division Report, Ms. Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Yu. So we briefly discussed earlier about the Holiday Wishes 2021 campaign. I just want to again publicly thank Wendy Richardson for her leadership in that project. It was a really heartwarming experience. I would like to thank all of our board staff who participated. We were able to sponsor 4 children, and we had some money left over to give to additional kids. So next year we will happily get board members involved if they are interested, and hopefully we can sponsor even more children. It was a really great project that we're happy that we were able to participate in. Okay, so we are relocating to the George H.W. Bush office building sometime in 2022. We don't know the exact date. Leticia Capel and I attend a virtual meeting to discuss logistics of the move with other tenants of the hobby building each week. We will do our best to ensure a smooth transition through this move with minimal impact to the agency, our daily operations, and to you all as far as ISCs and board meetings go. In February, we will schedule a walkthrough with the Texas Facilities Commission, and that will help us assess the scope of our move. And also we should receive a tentative move date at that time. If you guys are interested in learning more about this project, you can visit the website with the link for state employees to just kind of give you an idea of what kind of information we get.
And they have like a live video feed. Instruction, which is kind of cool.
Yes, thank you. The next item I wanted to go over with was to give a public thank you to Mr. Daniel Matthews. He has been our COOP enabler, I guess is a representative. That was the word I was looking for. So he has been working with the State Office of Risk Management, SORM, and they work with each agency to develop a continuity of operations plan. And that enables the agency to continue operations during any type of critical disaster that may occur, or pandemic, or that sort of thing. He has done a great job. He is our COOP representative. He's worked diligently on this project. He submitted our agency's after action report for the COVID-19 pandemic, and we received rave reviews on his work. So thank you so much, Dan. We appreciate you so much. Next on my topics are the Government Law and Liability Conference that is hosted by the Office of the Attorney General. Lauren Studdard and I and Ms. Cassie Camp and I will be attending next week. It's the 14th and the 15th. That's a really good conference. It's a lot of general counsels, executive directors. Occasionally some board members will attend, especially new board members. So for any of you board members who would like to attend maybe in the future, please let us know. But it is great information sharing, and we're looking forward to attending that conference next week. FARB, the Federation of Association of Regulatory Boards, will have their meeting January 27th and 29th. Ms. Studdard and I will be attending that virtually. This is also a great networking opportunity and information sharing opportunity for us. The agenda includes topics such as military licensure, fulfilling board duties, public information, and improving regulatory processes. An executive director I really look up to, Brian Francis, he will be retiring from TDLR in January. He's going to be speaking, so I'm looking forward to hearing him speak at FARB. And lastly, the electronic prescribing waiver. So that process began in January of this year. In September, we began a project to migrate all of the practitioners' approval statuses into their individual profile on our website. So now if a practitioner has applied for a waiver and received a waiver, the pharmacy or whoever is inquiring about it can go to their actual public profile on our website, see, yes, they have the waiver, it expires this date. We no longer keep that list that we were working off of earlier this year. So those waivers are active for 1 year. They can be renewed 30 days before expiration. Thank you so much to Trina Smith, who was down here a minute ago, for doing a great job. She keeps the ball rolling with those electronic prescribing waivers, and we appreciate her so much.
Can I ask a question
sure.
on that? Is it, how do people request to renew? Is there a link on the website?
It's the exact, yes. So it's the exact same way that they applied. You just submit the application again with updated information, obviously. And we had discussed possibly sending out reminders to people, but decided, thanks to board's guidance on that, that we're not going to send reminders. Obviously, people know when their waivers are expiring because their prescriptions won't get filled, their paper prescriptions. So they'll know when they need to renew. And again, that's they can start the renewal process 30 days, but our processing time on those right now is 1 to 2 business days. We're cranking them out basically in real time. So it shouldn't delay anything. And that concludes my report. Thank you, board.
Thank you for your great work and appreciate all you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Nichols. Any comments for Ms. Nichols before we move on? Okay, thank you. So Finance Administrative Division report, Ms. Capel.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I have uploaded several reports for your review. The first one is the annual financial report from fiscal year 2021. That is already available on the reports section of the agency's website. I've also uploaded the annual non-financial report for 2021 that was recently completed. It is not on the website yet, but should be within the next week or so. I did receive a couple of emailed questions concerning these reports that I wanted to go ahead and address. And then, of course, if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer those. I had the questions were what about the Pharmacy Association fees. So that is our peer assistance program. There's 132,000 and change from last year, and this year it's the same amount that we expect. So those are those payments that we take care of on a monthly basis. That's for peer assistance. The other question that I received is about other expenses. In the annual financial report, it shows other operating expenses that are over $700,000. Those include about 400,000 of that is from the jurisprudence exam fees that we receive. And those are basically a pass-through. It comes through us, but then goes on to the company. Also with that are the peer assistance fees that I just mentioned. Those, it's 132,000 and change. That also comes out of the other expenses. The other big ticket item under that listing are the DRP payments, our dental review panel payments that we send out to our panelists, and also expert witness fees. So hopefully those are the biggest creditors that we have under other expenses. The other ones are smaller fees related to any employee tuition or training, registrations, things like that, because we do try and encourage our employees to attend training. We cover some CE classes for our attorneys, for our professional folks. And oftentimes when we find some customer service training or even management training, we encourage our employees to take advantage of those. And then the other reports that I have uploaded include the regular reports, the dental review panel payments for fiscal year 2022, which is our current year. Also the fines for fines and remedial fees that we've received in 2022. And then lastly is the budget for the current year through the 8th. And we're in a good spot. We're in a really good spot financially. Before I move on, one of the other questions that I received was our move. the upcoming move and how that's going to impact our budget. If you recall, last session in our legislative appropriations request, we requested additional funds for our move, and those were approved. So any new furniture that we decide to purchase for the move is already covered. Casey and I did a walkthrough through our office, and honestly, I hadn't noticed. There are some desks that are in pretty bad shape that we're going to replace. And there's additional furniture that we're going to get, especially for our attorneys. Yes. Yeah. So and then the Texas Facilities Commission is actually going to do a walkthrough of our office soon. And we're going to let them know exactly what we're taking, what we're not taking. But we have accounted for some of the new furniture that we're going to purchase, along with new file cabinets, things like that. Only the newer furniture is being taken and moved over. So if anyone has any questions on any of these reports or any of the items that I've mentioned, I'll be happy to answer them. I see Dr. Kirsch, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just have a statement. First of all, I want to thank you for all your work that you're doing. And I wanted to thank Dr. Yu for pointing out that next year he is going to get with all the committee heads and come up with the budget, because I do feel as much money as we, the dental board, bring into the state of Texas, I think we need more appropriated funds for our staff. I think our staff is very underpaid. And I just want to thank David Yu for taking the leadership on that and trying to get our staff more resources. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have to thank my staff. I have a really, really good staff, and without them, things would not be as smooth as they are. And I completely agree. We have an amazing staff, and they deserve so much more. So it's very much appreciated. Ms. Palermo?
Yeah, I just had a question looking over the unaudited. I think it's on page 2 of your report, but there's underneath there, it has unearned revenue. What is that? You know,
Is that from the annual financial report? So I can pull it up and take a look at it.
combined balance sheet statement of net.
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes, yes, it does.
Okay.
I believe that those are funds or revenue that we are expecting but hadn't yet received. So with the annual financial report, our agency is considered a simplified agency, and so we don't have to go into as much detail because we are only funded by one general fund, whereas other agencies, for example, Texas Parks and Wildlife, have many revenue streams that are broken down. And so we're able to do a more simplified, and because of that, our due date for these reports is earlier than the bigger agencies. And it literally takes a snapshot of fiscal year 2021. And so if there are items such as accounts payable that have not been received yet, those are not accounted for. So even if you take a look at that annual financial report, it shows that we returned a certain amount of money, but that's not necessarily the case. We still had several invoices left to pay, invoices that we hadn't received yet for services or for goods that we received during the fiscal year. So it's basically, it allows, as a simplified agency, it allows us to take a snapshot of fiscal year 2021. So it's actually not a complete outlook of it.
Is that why it's in parentheses?
It's in parentheses because it's a debit and we're waiting for it.
Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Dr. Henderson.
Ms. Capel, excellent job on the reports, and I'm wanted to tell you, I know we're really glad that you're here with us doing this report.
Yes,
So I just want to let you know, it's good to see you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I did want to mention that I really appreciate the outpouring of support that I received after the last board meeting, and all the phone calls and text messages and just everything. So thank you very much. It's very heartwarming.
Comments or questions? And thank you again, you and your division. Great work, and thanks for all the summary.
Thank you.
Next, licensing division, Ms. Mendez.
Good morning, board members. I have a couple of reports there. There's the anesthesia report. If you guys have noticed, it's gotten way smaller. So just, I think it's pretty much the second to the last page, which is the levels of 2 through 4 anesthesia inspections, running totals number. And so just to point out that there are 19 left that were due or that we were mandated to have inspected by September 1, 2022. So the program is still running pretty smooth, even with everything that has gone on. So I'd like to point out that we did lose one of our inspectors, not gone, just moved over to the other side, which is now part of the investigations team. But we have welcomed Mr. Rafael Cruz. He started with us on December 1st. And so we look forward to getting him trained and getting him out in the field. I believe he's supposed to be heading out to inspections in February to El Paso. So we have inspections scheduled all the way through March of 2022. And just wanted to point out as a reminder, just because there still seems to be a lot of folks out there who don't know that we no longer print renewal certificates. And so just a little reminder again, if you guys are, getting phone calls or wondering, hey, where's my certificate? I renewed, what's going on? We're just redirecting them to the website and, giving them that information so they can print the certificate and they have it. We still are printing out initial certificates for our dental assistants. Just the one time they get it when it's when we approve the application, we'll mail it out. But as a reminder, once they renew, then they would also have to print them off our website. It's not required that it be a color copy. I also wanted to mention that we just recently added the ability for licensees to be able to complete their change of address online via their licensing account. So that's fairly new. We haven't had any negative responses just yet. But we're open to suggestions and see what's coming through. More to come with that, one thing at a time. So it just reiterates the fact that we're trying to streamline a lot more processes. And so it's very important, for your colleagues and licensees to know that make sure that you know your username and password to that online account. I mean, there's so many people who just, for whatever reason, they pass that information on to the office manager or someone else in their office to handle. And then when it's time for them to do it, they're like, well, I don't know. So just wanted to point that out. And then also we did hire another staff member, Ms. Jessica Castilleja. She has joined the team on November 1st. So she'll be assisting the licensing division along with the other admin that we have with answering phones and licensing division emails. So that's their primary responsibility all day long while they're here in the office. So we now have 2 dedicated team members to answer the phones along with additional staff to assist them. So it would be 3 people answering phones all day with rotating that third person amongst everyone else in the division. So as of the date that I wrote this report, I had 1 position still open, but just filled it yesterday. We had our applicant accept our offer. So we look forward to having Mr. Jared Nuss join us. He's actually already with the agency. He is being promoted within the agency. So it's a really good deal for him. And he'll be starting with us on January the 3rd. And so I do have our processing dates there, and these are just for initial applications. So this is This was as of that date. As of today, we are on December 3rd for dentists and hygienists for initial applications, and for assistants, we're processing November 18th for new applications. Any questions for me? And I'm sorry, I mean, I didn't even mention the other reports that are there. I have the CE audits for this quarter, and then our division report, which has our numbers, just in general of the types of applications that we've been approving.
Okay.
Anderson?
Ms. Mendez, thank you so much. Good job on the anesthesia inspection. 19 is really a good number, almost a year out. And welcome to Jared. That's exciting news for him. That's good for you too. So congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez.
Ms. Palermo.
Yeah, I had a question. What exactly happens when people don't comply with the CE audits?
So just as a reminder, the CE audit licensees are notified 90 days before they're due to renew. So they have 90 days to try to get in compliance. Otherwise, if they go ahead and attempt to renew online or submit a paper application to us, staff will return the paper, or if they do it online, it will not be approved until they can show adequate proof of the continuing education requirements.
So what if they never do it? I mean, I'm looking at 70 of them from October. That's a lot.
Right. And so if they never do it, then the license will move to an expired status and then cancel. So let me just clarify those numbers, Ms. Palermo. Those numbers are the ones that responded in a timely manner via the audit portal. Now, once they go past their expiration date, that window period closes and they can no longer upload to the portal. Then they have to submit it to us either by fax, mail, or email the documentation documents.
Okay, so they can actually end up with a canceled license if they don't get it within the 2 years then, right? Or the year?
Correct.
Okay. I know, because I know Ms. Pride is new. It's kind of like trying to soak in all this information. So I just kind of wanted to let her know about the CE audits a little bit more in depth. But also too, well, I could ask you this later. I was just wondering if you got the chance to monitor one of the live patient exams. I know you did the mannequin exam because I was there. Did you ever get a chance to monitor one of the live patient exams?
No, I have not. We've been super swamped here and the opportunity hasn't come up.
Saying that. Maybe one day.
Sure.
Dr. Maldonado?
I have a quick question because I had somebody call me this past week and ask me if the renewal was able to be done on a cell phone because they were just getting all these like blank screens. And I went and logged in on my computer really quick and I was like, no, well, my computer's showing this and that. And I was like, well, do you have access to a computer? Maybe you could do that. And that person didn't because I don't know where they were. So it's not, I mean, it's a lot of information. I don't even see how it could possibly be mobile friendly.
Yeah, if you don't mind. We checked into that. Dan actually sent that upstream and we found out that the software does not support the mobile devices. It's better to do it. I think you have to do it from a computer.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Well, that's good to know.
Any other comments or questions? Well, thank you again for your amazing work, Ms. Mendez. I'm particularly impressed because just kind of walking through the whole process of licensing, overwhelming, but make it work. So okay.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Next would be Dr. Bell. Dr. Bell, dental practice division.
Thank you, Dr. Yu, and good morning, board members. I've uploaded my report to your board member materials. I'll hit a couple highlights. Essentially, we're maintaining excellent productivity as well as quality within the dental practice division. We do have one DRP mentee for your consideration today. I didn't include it in my report, but just to recap that process just very briefly for our newer members. Essentially, our mentees will be trained for 2 reports. They don't get paid for them. They go through our training and then they complete the 2 reports. Representatives from dental practice and representatives from legal both score both of the reports. So the most points that one could receive would be 20 points, and obviously could go all the way down to 0. So we've had, if you look at the mentee's score sheet, we have ranges. 20 to 14 points would be recommended. 13 to 10 points would be recommended, but we would provide additional training before we assign them a new case. And then 9 and below would not be recommended. And so the mentee that I have proposed for you today is recommended, but is in that middle zone. And we will be providing the feedback both from legal and from dental practice, and then expecting at least one more report that I will also show legal, and we will score and continue to work with that individual until we feel that they can meet the standards. And if at some point they do not, then we would, not utilize them. So, since these meetings are only 4 times a year, we try to, front load approvals when we can, when they're in that zone, and then again, do additional training, versus the other option would be to wait until our next meeting and then have y'all consider that then. So happy to do it either way. This is just the way that we've done it previously. Dr. Yu, would you like me to finish my report and then consider that applicant, or would you like me to pause?
Yeah, let's pause. And would the board like to make a recommendation with the new DRP?
So moved.
Okay, so Dr. Kirsch moves to accept the board's recommendation for a new DRP.
Would you like to say his name?
No. And do I have a second?
McNeil.
Dr. McNeil seconds. Let's go ahead and I guess we'll roll this, if you don't mind.
Dr. Brian Henderson.
4.
Dr. Robert McNeil. 4. Dr. George Kirch. 4. Ms. Lois Palermo.
4.
Dr. Margot Melcher is absent. Dr. Linda Burke.
4.
Dr. Yvonne Maldonado.
4.
Dr. David Yu.
Great.
Thank you.
4.
It's almost like if I were Hispanic or something. Did I say Dr. David Yu?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Miss Lori Jones.
4.
Miss Catherine Sisk.
4.
Miss Marquita Pride.
4.
For those who don't know, I am Hispanic. I was born in Havana, Cuba, and I'm fluent in Spanish. So just, I don't want anybody.
Except when it comes to my last name. Except when it comes to my last name.
It passes unanimously.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Sorry,
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bell. You can continue, please.
Thank you. So we do have a vacancy. One of the investigative administrative assistance positions is open. Essentially, turnover is not that abnormal, but what I want to do is I want to highlight the staff that have really stepped up and just gone above and beyond to keep the complaints moving, because that position was kind of the front end, getting the complaints entered so then they can be worked. And so my assistant Jacob Bunn, Faye Bailey, who's our intake specialist, and then Lori Becker, who is the other investigative administrative assistant, have all been working quite a bit extra to try to keep things moving. Because if y'all remember, we had 3 investigative admins before the force reduction. So essentially, the work can be handled by 2 at full, but there's no room to be down to one. So again, everyone stepped up and I'm just very appreciative of that. The last, again, Director Heber and I will be interviewing to fill this position, and I have no doubt that the next time we meet, we should have someone. The final matter is we do still have a lot of pending reviews for oral maxillofacial surgery DRP members. So specifically in that category, if any of you have any colleagues that you could twist their arm and encourage them to apply, we would be most appreciative. It's gone up, that particular metric has gone up by about 7 or 8 cases since the last board meeting. So it seems to be going in the wrong direction. And as you guys know that have been DRP members, I mean, those are more of the involved cases. So we can't, turn them around super quickly. A lot of them are hospitalizations and things that really need some time. So the more folks we have reviewing the cases, the more we can keep them moving. Again, some numbers down below there. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this time.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, it's not just one DRP, it's 2 to 3 that has to look at it. And for instance, the hospitalizations, it usually goes to oral surgeon, and we don't have, we're in the 40s right now as far as backlogs. So, in your world, in your practice, who the best surgeons are, the best dentists. And I think it's an honor for board members to ask them directly and say, hey, you would be a great DRP member. And here's the link, if you want to apply. And it's great. And I tell them that, you really learn about the rules, you learn how other practice the standard of care. And so in your practice, it actually improves your outlook and all your standard of care and even the board rules knowledge. But any comments as far as
where is that link?
It's on our website.
Is it on the homepage?
It is.
Okay.
Any other
Yeah,
comments?
or feel free to send them to me, to my email, or my assistant, Jacob Bunn. We'll just collect them from any source that we can.
And we almost always have a blurb in the newsletter too.
Yeah. But it really is an honor for any dentist to be part of DRP. I think it really opened my eyes, and I'm sure Dr. McNeil about the board. But thank you for your work, Dr. Bell, and your.
Thank you, Dr. Bell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you guys for your work.
Ms. Heber, did you have anything to present?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Yu, and good morning, board members. This is my first presentation as the Director of Investigations, so forgive me if I seem a little nervous. I trust me, I am very nervous. You can see our investigations team productivity for the first quarter. Again, I am so honored and lucky to have this team. They just amaze me. We've been down for 16 months, I think. We've been down at least 1 or 2 positions, and they still continue to crank out cases and just they get things done, and I appreciate that. We lost one analyst, Erica Plyman. Her husband serves in the U.S. Army, and they relocated out of state. As Ms. Mendez said, we did poach Kimberly Linderman from Anesthesia. She's been getting trained and is doing a great job so far. We do have 1 position still available. Dr. Bell and I've interviewed 1 person this week, and we hope to interview a few more next week. And hopefully by the next time we see each other, we will be fully staffed for the first time in a long time.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Yep.
And you did a great job.
Yes.
Thank you.
And trust me, it's I'm in favor of poaching because it keeps things fresh for the employee, and it's a great thing, and they already know the ins and outs. The problem is the new one you have to train. That's kind of the issue. Any questions for Ms. Heber?
I do have to say that Ms. Heber took on the role in September and hit the ground running, and I know she's got an excellent team, but she's an excellent leader, and we're happy to have her.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
I just wanted to ask a quick question. I'm looking at the cases, that we're going to sell and stuff. Do we need anybody to volunteer for any mediation cases?
We just got an email. It's coming up at the end of January.
That'll be in league.
Just have one for mediation.
Yeah, we don't.
We got an
Okay.
email. It just came
Okay.
out today. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Legal division, Mr.
Thank you, W. I believe we do have a couple of cases coming up the pipeline, Mrs. Lerner, that need board members for mediations. So just FYI.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay.
I read the email this morning.
You'll notice that legal's report is in your materials. I would also like to thank my team, the legal division, for working very hard this quarter. One of the things I wanted to point out, you'll notice our SOA numbers have increased steadily over the last several quarters, and that's largely in part due to our AGC, Cassie Camp, who's done a great job in training our attorneys and all our attorneys.
Yay.
All our attorneys too who have done a really good job in working hard and continuing to move their cases forward. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Harris.
So the legal team has always done a good job, but actually the whole agency and the reports. And I noticed Dr. Bell smiling with Ms. Heber's report for the change. And so same with you all. You're doing a really nice job. In SOA cases, I heard that SOA's difficult to schedule cases because of judges. Is it still a problem for our agency?
We are doing a lot of our cases now via Zoom. And I believe in-person hearings don't start until April. Is that correct, Kathy?
I believe so. The thing about SOA is it's not an us problem, it's their own staffing issues. So cases are still moving, and even after a case is filed at SOA, our attorneys do a great job of staying diligent, working with the respondents or their counsel to still resolve those. So sometimes they don't even need to go to a hearing. So we're not really feeling the effect of that too terribly. As you all know, we've had several temporary suspensions this quarter. And as far as those cases which require a very strict statutory deadline, SOA has been excellent with us in getting those scheduled and abiding by those deadlines. So yeah, the staffing issue on their end isn't affecting us too badly.
Okay, good. Ms. Camp?
Yes.
Okay, question for Ms. Camp, if I can. Other than the temporary suspensions, is it our standard protocol to try to look at mediation as an option?
Yes, we always try and look at mediation as an option. In fact, recently, the orders requiring our attorneys to confer and pick dates have started requesting that the parties confer about mediation and putting that in the initial order. But usually we'll try and set a case for mediation at the outset, without even setting it for a hearing date if we know that case is appropriate. So we've already conferred with the opposing party, the one that Dr. Kirsch is referring to, Sonia's seeking a board member so she can set that directly for mediation. So yes, we do consider it quite often. There are some cases that just are not appropriate for that for one reason or the other.
I just want to compliment the staff. To me, I've been on the board for 6 years. From the leader all the way down, this is the most competent and efficient staff that we have had in my 6-year tenure here. It really is. And I applaud y'all. I think y'all are doing a great job from legal all the way down. And my compliments to y'all. Y'all have done a great job. And Casey, you're obviously the leader and you're well respected from your staff members, but I applaud y'all, really do. This is really well run on machine right now.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you.
I think we all agree it's a great group.
Yeah, it is. I've been here for 6 years and this is wonderful.
Thank you.
And I do agree, the camaraderie that we all feel that you have, and
Exactly.
even the board members.
Yes.
Yes,
camaraderie, the
exactly.
whole thing.
Exactly.
And really just, it trickles down from the top down, but in the end, you all respect each other and want to make the board run, and thank you for making this work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from Ms. Stutter?
Leticia.
Oh, Leticia.
I do not have a question for Ms. Studdard, but I do want to piggyback off of one of the things that was mentioned during the legal report, is that our agency is not the only agency that is currently struggling to find viable candidates to hire. Casey and I participate in biweekly meeting, with other agencies, with other executive staff. And the issue is across the board, where I don't know what's happening, but since the pandemic began, we're just not receiving a lot of applicants. And we have tried to advertise in different spots, and it hasn't helped us. But it is an issue that is happening statewide. But we'll continue to push ahead and unfortunately poach each other's employees.
I can see Indeed over here.
Be careful how we say the word poach. If you're a rancher, you may not like that word. Right?
Okay, so any announcements, Dr. Henderson?
Well, I'd like to make an announcement I saw this week, and just for clarification, a former layperson on our board, Dr. Garza, was appointed to the Texas Commission of the Arts, I saw. So anyway, so I appreciate the lay people who come and participate in our deal. And I continue to encourage everybody to serve. And obviously that's what we're looking for with the RP people. I want to thank you and welcome you to the board.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
And I also wanted to congratulate Dr. Melcher. We wish her and her new husband love and happiness. So congratulations. Have a wonderful holiday, all, and blessings to all. And we'll see you just in a couple months.
Yeah.
So
Big turnaround.
Next year, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Moved. Second, McNeil.
So
He's gotta go catch a plane.
Time now is 11:22. Thank you,
Wow.
board.
Thank you.